All right. So I'm just waiting on Dave. Can you guys hear me okay? Is everything working? You can see me, hear me. I sound good. Oh, there's Dave there. Zach Squatch, my old faithful. Dave has just arrived. I'm trying to get my friends from Ireland to join the stream, but they are all too drunk. So can everybody hear me okay? I'm going to bring Dave in a second. But I want to make sure you guys can hear me first. How do I sound? You can see and hear me? I sound okay, Max? Dave Wilbanks.
Hey. Can you hear me?
I'm actually going to make this. There we go. You know, I know you have. I know you have some fans out there that I want to see you as big as possible, so they can admire you. So, but I can't hear you. Check your.
You can't hear me
there.
Can you hear me now?
Charm our viewers. Hi, Mark. So this is a real treat. Can you hear me, Dave? Just put your fingers up if you can hear me, or your hand up or something. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can't hear you yet. So
you can't hear me.
Oh. Why can't I hear Dave?
Well, I don't know. Why can't you?
Mark, can you hear Dave?
Can you hear me now?
That's weird. Oh, for God's sake. Hold on a second. Oh, there we go. No, I muted you, Mike, or Dave. 1 second. Hold on. I unmuted you, but I still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I'm such a newbie at this. 1 second. Oh, damn it. So you can hear me, but you can also hear Dave. Why can't I hear Dave? Ah, it pisses me off. Maybe my let me just check this 1 second. Cam, mic, audio, speaker. Okay, hold on. I know what's happened. There we go. I had my speaker set to my microphone. So let me try that again, Dave. There we go. Yeah, I had my speaker set to my microphone.
Okay. So can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great.
And the weird thing is I can't hear you through my headphones. I can only hear you through the
speakers.
Yeah, the desktop. But that's okay because if everybody can hear us.
Okay, what do I push on here so I can see people's questions over on the side?
I don't know. Who can help us out here? Because I am not totally familiar. Well, you could go to YouTube. Do you have a cell phone?
Yeah, I'm on my cell phone.
Oh, you're on your cell phone?
Yeah.
Well, you could. I don't know because I'm on the computer, so I can see them on the side. You should be able to see the chat come up. If you're in a live setting, like when I do Bigfoot Odyssey, I'll just and you'll see if you put your phone in portrait or landscape mode, you'll see the chats coming up.
Yeah, well. It's not giving me that option.
Really?
Nope.
He can click on live chat to bring it up. Amy said, click. Oh, yeah, there's a live at the bottom of your feed. I'll just click on it right now. At the bottom of your feed. At the bottom of your feed, I'll just click on it right now. At the bottom of your feed. At the bottom of your feed. Yeah, it's just right, it's like infinity. If you just click on the actual, oh, he's gone. Yeah, if he just clicks on the iPhone feed, he'll be able to see all of the comments.
Okay, don't worry about it. I can't see it. I'll just rely on you to tell me what people are asking.
Okay, so half of this is going to be about Dave Wilbanks and his journey into Sasquatch, because we've got a lot of members here that might not know you. I'm sure most of them do, because most of them are here because you referred them, or Bigfoot Odyssey referred them. But I will put important questions up on the screen after we do all the introduction stuff. So half of this is going to be Dave's story, a couple of like highlights of our adventures together, and then we're going to have like a Q&A in the second half hour. So anybody that wants to ask a question can just put it in caps like Daniela does, and I'll put it up on the screen. You'll be able to see that. Hi, Neil. So we got 9 people in chat so far. So you just take your time and get comfortable there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get which is not going to happen, so we'll have to deal with this. Excuse me.
I wonder why that makes it. It's just strange that I can't hear you through my headphones. You should be coming through my headphones. I don't know why that is. Just give me 1 second. I want to try something. Hold on. Audio. Okay. Say something, Dave.
Something? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear that. So we're going to have to go back to the... Okay, say something.
Hello? Can you hear that?
1 second. I'm pretty new at this. I've only done this a couple of times. So I'm going to have to go back to the desktop speakers. Yeah, there we go. So you're hearing me through my mic that's turned on, I hope. And I'm just hearing you through the computer. So I'm going to have to do this. There we go.
Okay.
So, okay, Zach. Zach's always there. Zach has been there, I think, from the very first day ever.
Yeah, he's been here a long while. He labeled us as the dynamic duo of Sasquatch earlier. I saw that.
Well, you know what? Zach is thinking of starting his own show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because he lives in a very active area. And I told him, I'm like, if you start your own show, Zach, we'll send some people to interview. He's got lots of footage and stuff from where he is. And we'll have him on and promote his show, which I think he should just call Zach Squatch.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Just like Matt Squatch. Remember Matt Squatch? And he just like totally gave up everything. He had his own channel. He was on documentaries and stuff like yourself. Matt Squatch, yeah. Yeah, he's from California, and he was kind of a, you would hear he's got, Zach Squatch has got a hair, he's just saying, if you can't see it, he's got some hair samples and a bag of shit.
No, well, there you go.
That's more than I have, Zach. All I've got is my testimony. I don't have any evidence whatsoever. Okay, Zach. Take your time. So, do you want to? what I'm seeing here is people that we already know, but do you want to go through who you are, your channel, your book, and all that stuff? Do you want to give like a TLDR of your history with Sasquatch?
Well, history goes back to when I was a small child. Through my introduction to this subject was through a family friend who, back in the mid '60s, he was a doctor of veterinary medicine named Lewis Stiles, and he was corresponding in the mid '60s with Roger Patterson, who would, later, him and Bob Gimlin filmed the famous Patterson Gimlin film. And this was before that film. This was when Roger was, going out and exploring and looking for Sasquatch. But anyway, he had a book, Do Abominable Snowmen in America Really Exist? Again, that was the book that Roger Patterson wrote. And it's basically, for the biggest part, a collection of newspaper clippings and his thoughts on it. But when I was a small child in the early '70s, I knew exactly where on his bookshelf that book was. And every time I would go down there, and he lived at Broken Bow. Sadly, he since passed on, but I knew right where that was. And when my family would go down there, I would go get that book and just pour through it. And it had illustrations in it by Roger Patterson. He was a very good artist, and I was just intrigued by it. And I was kind of hooked on that subject from then on. And then in the mid '90s, I guess it would have been, I started actively going out into the woods in different areas, looking for better evidence of these creatures.
And then how did you end up on a documentary on the Travel Channel? Was that the Travel Channel?
Yeah, it was Travel Channel in can't remember the exact year, 1999, I believe, is when they first contacted me. I had a website. I call it the old .com days. It was southernbigfoot.com is what I called it. And there's a producer over in England whose name is Bruce Burgess, and he still does a lot of documentaries for travel and discovery, a lot of stuff about mysterious things. I think the latest thing I've seen on his Facebook, he's working on something to do with the old Aztecs and stuff down in South America. But he sent me an email one day, and I thought it was a joke. You get a lot of those. But he was saying he wanted to do a documentary about Bigfoot sightings in Oklahoma. He saw my website and wanted to know if I'd be interested in helping him. And after, deciding he was actually a real producer or whatever, I said, yeah, sure. And he and I talked to some people I knew and got them involved. One Native American gentleman that was a longtime friend of mine named Tim Harjo. He was from Ada. My business is in Ada, Oklahoma, and I knew Tim through that and got him involved to be the kind of Native American spokesman, if you will, in that. He played a big part in it. And then some other people that I had investigated their Sasquatch sightings said they wanted to be on it as well. So I kind of gathered up as many people as I knew that would maybe be interested, and then we just went from there. So it was a fun time. It was an experience,
Well, that documentary, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's called Bigfootville. It's free on YouTube, right?
Yeah, you can find actually on my YouTube channel on playlists. You'll find a link to that you can watch it. And I've just got to say, I was not responsible in any way for the title of it. I told Bruce, I said, man, that's just silly sounding, but what do you do?
Well, it was over 20 years ago, so they were still a bit green.
I think when we, let's see, I think we started, the way it came down is Bruce came over from England in, excuse me, I've been out working out outside all day, and my allergies are acting crazy, but anyway, Bruce, he came over from England by himself in the fall, and I took a week off work, and we basically drove to many different locations in Oklahoma, just getting ideas on where to actually do filming. Then he left, and in the very last part of November, he came back to Oklahoma with the film crew, and most of them were all from England, which I affectionately said it was like hanging out with the cast of Monty Python. You've heard of British humor?
Yeah.
That's a real thing. And
Oh yeah, for sure.
what I got to say this: there's a cameraman. If he happens to watch this, his name was Martin, and he's about my size exactly. I'm not a real big guy, but he had this thing to anywhere we went, he would go up to a total stranger and challenge them to an arm wrestling match. And we were in a little small restaurant in Smithville, which is, you know, it's a small town in the Ouachita Mountains there in southeast Oklahoma. And this big lumberjack looking guy comes walking in. I mean, look, big beard, just a big guy. Looked like he could wrestle a Sasquatch. And Martin, he just goes, watch this, in that, you know, British accent, walks up to the guy, looks up at him and said, hey, mate, would you like to arm wrestle? And this guy just looked down at him like, what's this little English guy doing in the middle of this small town that challenged him to arm wrestle? And he just looked at him, and Martin said, I'll even give you a chance. I'll go left-handed with you. And the guy just looked at him and goes, I'm just here to eat breakfast, and walked past him and sat down. Because all those British guys just about fell on the floor laughing. I'm like going, and I'm thinking, man, they're going to offend somebody and we're just going to disappear out here, you know?
Yeah.
But no, it was a lot of fun. But then they all come back. There was actually one producer there that was from Oklahoma. I can't recall her name. She lived in Los Angeles and worked there for Travel Channel or whatever, but she was actually raised in Stigler, Oklahoma. So
was she the news lady?
No, she was not. No. That would be Cindy Bear. She worked for some Tulsa news channel. No, I can't remember. I can't remember her name, but she wasn't shown on any of it. She was just a producer. So you didn't see Bruce, and I don't believe, if I remember right, and you didn't see her on it. They were kind of behind the scenes, just directing what to do, what, and when. And it was a fun time. It wasn't, you know, a lot of the new Bigfoot shows on TV, you know, not to be overly critical, but they seem like reality TV shows. And I think they did put this across as more of a documentary, which is what it was intended. So, in the overall, I was pleased with it.
Now, you guys did go out there, and you did have some kind of an experience, because I remember, the lady, I can't remember what you said about her, but the lady from the Tulsa news station, was it?
Yeah, Cindy Bear.
Yeah, she was taken aback. Now, what was her whole story?
Well, from what I recall about how they got in touch with her, they wanted, when Bruce was putting this together, he wanted somebody from a news agency there. He also wanted somebody that was a skeptic, which they had some anthropologist from like a Chicago university. I never seen the guy. He just got him to come on and say why he didn't believe in that. And I kind of felt bad for the guy, because all the comments about the documentary, he just got slammed by everybody. I'm like, oh, poor guy. He was just doing what they wanted him to do, you know. But Cindy turned out to be the news lady that they'd got in touch with, and she said, yeah, I'll help out with that. And you're talking about when we were in the woods and she was thinking she saw something.
Yeah.
Where we were at was down in, and I'll just say it, if anybody's out there investigating areas, this would be worth going to check out. There's in the northeast corner of Oklahoma, there's a lake called Grand Lake of the Cherokees. And there were a couple of police officers that had been camping down there. I'd investigated this sighting personally, and they were both in the documentary. Actually, Dan Belda was one of them, and I can't remember the other fellow's name, but he's on there as well. But they had been camping, and during the evening, they were where it took place is in the river bottoms below Grand Lake, below the dam. And you go down there, it's a lot of mountains and just really rugged country. And they were down there. They took their 4-wheel drive to go 4-wheeling back in there, and they were camping the night. And they kept hearing something at the bottom of this mountain there beside of this ridge, and there was a big berm at the bottom of it, and they heard it on the other side of that. So they got up, grabbed their pistols. They thought it was an armadillo scooting through the leaves, and they ran around the side of this berm. And what it was a Sasquatch, and it had been laying down on the other side of that berm, scooting itself up so it could look over at them. And when they went running around the deal, they thought we're going to shoot an armadillo. And this was Dan telling me about this. And sadly, Dan, he's no longer with us. He passed away not a long time after the documentary. I found out later, but it stood up in front of them, face-to-face encounter, and they just left. They left all their camping gear and everything down there. And whether anybody believes it was an actual Bigfoot they seen or whatever, they saw something that scared them to death. They left all their camping gear down there. And when Dan got in contact with me, and I met him at that little town of Disney, and he led me down there. But that first night, he would not stay past dark down there. The other guy, the other police officer, he would not even go back down there at that time. So it's just me and Dan, and then I stayed down there the rest of the evening myself. And we didn't see anything that particular day. But that was the area that we were in, that exact area where Cindy and them were looking up on the ridge. And they thought they saw something standing between some trees in the moonlight or something. I did not see anything at that time. So I can't attest to whether they actually saw Bigfoot or not, because I would look up there and I didn't see anything.
But weren't there rocks thrown or something?
There was a couple of times, and one of them, and I had to ask Bruce about this later, because one of them and there was very thick forest there, and I was behind my pickup, and one rock, a small one, was thrown from such a close distance, it just fell in the truck kind of behind me. And I asked Bruce later, I said, okay, did one of your crew throw that rock? And he said, Dave, he says, we're so far past that point. He said, I've got all the stuff I need for it. He said, if one of us had done it, I would tell you. He said, no, but none of us threw that rock. So now one thing I want to clear up on that for Dan's sake. Now he's, like I said, he passed away, but there's a part on Bigfootville where he pulls his pistol out and he shoots a couple of rounds into the woods. This is the only issue I have with the documentary, is the way that was edited. He was not shooting at anything in the woods. He was shooting into that same berm, because Bruce had asked him, said, hey, would you shoot a couple of shots from your pistol into that berm? And he said, yeah, sure. So the way that was edited in, it kind of insinuated that, we were under siege from a Sasquatch and he was shooting in the woods to frighten it off or something. That was not at all. So, but other than that, I thought they did a good job on it.
Okay, so that's the Bigfootville. You guys should check it out. It's one of the better documentaries out there on Bigfoot. Now, I gotta go pee. Could you please talk about for people that haven't heard it, the casino footage? I know we've talked about it a million times, but some people here might not have heard of it. So could you go over that while I just take a bathroom break? I'll be back in a second.
Well, if you've gone too long, I'll take over the show. Okay. Now, anybody's watching, I cannot see your questions or anything. So what he was referring to as the casino footage is back in late summer of, I believe it was 2000. There was a casino, a Native American casino up in northwest Oklahoma, that said they had footage from a surveillance camera of a Bigfoot coming up trying to get into a grease trap out there. And at that particular time, I wasn't a member of the BFRO, but I was an Oklahoma contact for them. And I had got an email from the lead guy, Matt Moneymaker. Y'all probably know him from Finding Bigfoot. But he had sent me an email saying that there's, Bigfoot around a casino, and where that's at is just bordering on the plains. And I didn't think it would be a good spot to even go, but he said they had it on film. And I said, well, I'll check that out. And me and another gentleman named Roger Roberts, he at the time was a private investigator from Tulsa, and a friend of his, and I cannot remember his friend's name. I wasn't acquainted with him. Me and Roger actually looked into a few different Bigfoot sightings together. But me and Roger's friend were allowed into the security room of that casino, and we were able to watch the actual unedited, untouched video directly from the camera that they had took. And what it showed, there was a grease trap that, like they were had there. It looks like a dumpster, but instead of a big lid on top, you lift the whole thing. There's a smaller square lid in the top and in about the middle, and there's a light pole right beside this. And Cornell, you've seen the picture of this grease trap I've showed you. And this light pole that kind of comes up, and you can't see my hand, comes up and leans over like this. And this thing had walked kind of across the parking lot late at night, it's past midnight, and walked up to this grease trap and leaned over and put his hands on the top. And that's all we saw of it, just a few seconds, but it was pretty definitive. And we were able to measure up the side of that light pole right beside the grease trap, and we estimated its height. It was over 9 feet tall. So that rules out man in a monkey suit. And the build of the thing, you couldn't make out facial features. It was a side view profile as it walked up, and it was very tall and kind of lanky is the best I could say it. It wasn't the real bulky looking Sasquatch like in the Patty film. I mean, it was very healthy, muscular looking, but it was very tall. And I've compared it to like what an NBA basketball player would be built like, just muscular, but very tall, long arms and all. So, but yeah, that was it. I was actually fortunate enough to be one of the very few people outside the tribe or employees there that actually saw that. So, and I've heard stories of people saying they've seen it since then, and some of the different stories just don't match. But that's what I've seen firsthand, and I've heard Roger on another website here about 10 years ago, another YouTube channel. He recounted the story, and his memory is the same as mine on it. The only difference in what me and Roger perceived is you notice a kind of a glow, and as it comes closer to the street lamp, and he thought that was eye shine, and to me, I thought it was more of the reflection of the lamp off the top of its head. So, but that's neither here nor there. That's just perception of whether it was eye shine or whether it was reflection off of its head. So that's the casino footage.
Yeah, the famous casino footage. So, also for everybody who doesn't know, I've been in Oklahoma twice with Dave. The first time, I didn't really hear anything Dave did. October, yeah, it was the first time. This last time was like day one was full of vocalizations. Day two was absolutely dead silent, and that's when I heard woke up to hearing someone walking about my camp, and I did a whole video on that. But I really want to go down there again. I just don't know when to go down. I mean, July, August. I mean, take your pick. It's going to be hot as hell either way, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, right now, it's very cool up here, but I would not even try to get down there right now. We've had so much rain. I got stuck in front of my house in my 4-wheel drive just last week. I mean, it would be, and that's what I've been doing today. We've been getting so much floods down, and this is in Hughes County, Oklahoma, by a little town called Calvin. And my family, we have some bottom land down there, and the high water mark used to be the edge of the creek. And this time the water came up so high, it took our fence out. So I've been out with my sister and brother-in-law all day trying to repair that. So, yeah, we've been getting a disastrous amount of flooding. I'd recommend coming down probably July or August would be the safest, or about the flooding. maybe later in June. I mean, if it just needs to lay off raining for a couple of weeks, and then you can get back in there. But right now, it'd be a disaster.
Yeah, I wonder if we're getting your weather, because it's been raining here for like 2 days. It's been pretty bad, and it will be for the next week. I wonder if it moved up to here.
I don't know, man. It's been crazy. But you saw my most recent video, didn't you? Down in the canyon, I'm hiking around,
Yeah.
getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. Well, you can kind of get an idea from how swampy that is down there. And mosquitoes are just insane right now because of all the water we've got.
Now, so have you put that deep wood stuff on? They'll leave you alone, or no?
Well, here's the funny thing. Where I was hiking in that, it wasn't like where we were at, where we could drive right up to, where we camped. This, I had to drive in for a ways and then get out, and I had to hike across a field, through some woods, and then over a ridge down into there. And I'd brought bug spray for that. And then when the mosquitoes hit, I realized I did not put it on. And it was about 3/4 mile back to my truck. So I'm like, well, heck,
Oh,
I'm just going to deal with it. And that's what I did.
now
Yeah.
you've also written the book, Dave. Do you want to plug your book? I don't know if anybody knows that you're also a published author, and you've written a Bigfoot fiction book called The Champay. Do you want to go into that before we go into any questions people have?
Oh, yeah. That's it right
Oh, there we
there.
go.
The Champay. Yeah, no, it's a fictional book. I'm trying to line up with my stuff there. The Champay Terror has a name. The Champay is it's a Choctaw word, and it goes back to the Choctaw natives, to their all the way back to their homeland in Mississippi. And basically, the Champay doesn't call it a Bigfoot. Of course, they didn't, say that then, but it's basically describing what we would think of as a Bigfoot creature, a big black ogre-like monster that lived in the swamps. If somebody came across its path, it would track that person, and if it caught him, it would eat it. And the legend says that if it's a hunter was out there and the Champay started, or Champay, however you want to pronounce it, started following that hunter, the only way he could get away is if he threw his game down and it decided to take that game as an offering or something and leave him alone. So what I did, there's not a whole lot written about the Champay in legend that I could find other than what I just said. So I tied it into the Bigfoot legend and put it in the mountains of southeast Oklahoma, like where we went. And it takes some turns. Some of it goes way back to hundreds of years ago, into the Choctaw Trail of Tears as they arrived into LaFleur, McCurtain County area down there, and then to modern times. So anyway, it's sold quite well on Amazon, and just hear me selling it personally out of my guitar shop and stuff. So anyway, if anybody would like to purchase it, it's available on Amazon in either ebook or paperback. And if you buy it, I sure appreciate it, because I use the proceeds from this book to buy research tools that I can use, like camera equipment or other things. So that's my book.
Now, can people just get in contact with you and request a signed copy, like I have?
Yeah, if they want to, absolutely. And I'm gonna give you my phone number, and this is the phone number for my business, okay? And this is where I could do the transaction over the phone, just like if you were ordering a guitar from me. Which, by the way, if you want to buy a guitar from me, you can do that too. But the phone number of my business is 580 332.
Hold on, go slower so I can type it. 580
332 1443. And if you want a signed copy of the book, just give me a call and you can purchase it, and I can and I'll be happy to sign it and mail it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, so check that out. If and you're writing another book as well, based on your experiences, it's more of a nonfiction book.
The one I'm writing now, and I could literally stop this book anytime. There's a few more stories I want to share in it. And the one I'm working on right now is the account that Mark Copeland, who has Livewire, has shared with me about his story. And I'm really taking my time with that because I want to do justice to that story because it's very intricate. As you know, you're acquainted with Mark as well. He just had so many very strange happenings on his property down there. Matter of fact, for anyone that don't know, his family's left that property and moved back to Arkansas. So I definitely, Mark, he's become a friend of mine through all this. And I definitely want to make sure I do justice to his story in it. So that's the part I'm working on now. I've probably got I've got several accounts. It's basically going to be some of the investigations I've done into the Sasquatch phenomena that I find the most interesting. And and you're in part of it because that place that you and I went and my son Elijah went with us, I've been investigating in that area since 2002 or 3. So that's a very long chapter. That's nearly a 10,000 word chapter right there. So, and the last account in it is the trip where you and I and my son Elijah was down there. So, well, I'll be sharing all of the intricacies of that.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was pretty nuts. For me, it was nuts. It was an absolute experience for me.
I gotta say hats off to Cornell here. Down here, especially this part of the country, there's a big deal. Nobody wants to admit if they're scared or something out in the woods. Oh, I wasn't scared, whatever. But Cornell, man, when that thing come up to his tent, he just flat out, I'm not sleeping in that tent, And well, you slept in the pickup that evening,
Yeah, I did. I was freaked out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, whatever that, well, I mean, it had to be a Sasquatch. I mean, we had cooked earlier that night, cooked stuff. We had a skillet with cooking grease in it out. We had food out. First, the only other thing big that could have come up like that would have been a bear. And if a bear had come into camp, it would have went right into the food. What's the ideal Oklahoma Bigfoot habitat? I guess that's a question to me.
Yeah. We got one more coming up, so answer that first.
Okay. Well, what's ideal? About the whole eastern, especially the southeastern part of the state, Pushmataha, LaFleur, McCurtain County, Cole County, southern Hughes County. Well, all of Hughes County, which is where I live, I've investigated some very credible sightings in this county. Basically, the whole eastern side. I've investigated sightings all the way up to Grand Lake, which is the northwest corner of the state, all the way down to McCurtain County, which is the southern tip of the state. But there's some that don't fit into we always think of alpine, like pine forests and swampy bottomlands and stuff like this. But the casino footage was out on the plains, which is close to a river. But even that area, they had Bigfoot sightings as far back as the 60s. They called it the Chicken Man because a chicken farmer had seen it, I think, getting into some of his chicken pens to get chickens. So, I mean, it can be pretty much anywhere, but the most consistent area is going to be the southeast part of the state.
Okay, we got another one coming up.
Are you going? I got to put my glasses on here. Are you going to make another documentary? The documentaries that I see on television now, I would not want to be a part of, frankly, because they're. And this is, I really hate to be critical of anybody, and I don't by name, but I don't like. I'll just say this: I don't like the way the new so-called documentaries are made. They're too sensationalized. So thankfully, the platform of YouTube gives me a platform where I can make them as I see fit. So I now Bruce Burgess that helped, that did the Bigfootville. If he contacted me, I would consider working with Bruce again, because I thought, he treated us well. But I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy doing the YouTube thing. I can do it as I see fit, and do collaborations with people like Cornell here, which I think that's worked out really well. Okay, glasses again. Readers. David, what are they? Relic, hominid, ape, parallel, human species, other? I don't know, and nobody else does either. Now, my observations, I don't think they're just an ape. Because anytime, anywhere in the world, any species of ape, anthropologist, scientist, primatologist, I'm sorry, find out where they're at, they go there, they study them. They may be hard to find at first. When you find where they are, they study them. I think, my own personal thought, are they're a lot closer related to us. They've got to be intelligent enough to know that we're bad news. That's why they avoid us for the biggest part. Most sightings of these are fleeting, if you get to see them at all. So I think, you go into relic, hominid and stuff like that. I don't know those things. The parallel human species, I do believe they are closer related to us. Thus their curiosity. They can easily hide from us if they want to, but they do get seen once in a while. So yeah, I think they're closer related to us, and that's about the best I can do. Oh, here we go. You can weigh in on this, Cornell. Two different styles as far as dynamics and stuff. Well, Randy Rhoads is very hard to beat, but without Tony Iommi, you do not have Randy Rhoads. Without the great Tony Iommi, you do not have heavy metal as we know it. Tony Iommi is head and shoulders. Tony Iommi is the shoulders that all other metal guitar players stand upon.
He's the grandfather.
He transcends all the rest of it. And when he plays today, he is just as up to date as he ever was. Randy Rhoads, love Randy Rhoads too, but I don't want to compare those two. I say Tony Iommi and Randy Rhoads. They're both great.
Yeah, Randy Rhoads is just more faster and technical, right?
Yeah. But I mean, Tony Iommi, he was the first, in my opinion, the first metal guitarist. He set that tone, the riff of Black Sabbath. That has been used in how many songs? I mean, the riff for Black Sabbath is the same riff as Enter Sandman, just played with different dynamics. Tony Iommi set the stage that other people built off of. So I'd love to jam with Tony Iommi just once. I'd love it.
Okay, one more.
Okay. Are the Oklahoma Big Feet the same as the Oregon one? Well, very similar anyway. And of course, the only opinion I can really give regarding that is I have not been up to Oregon or Northern California and investigated those sightings there. I have extensively down here. The behavior that, like me and Cornell have witnessed, behavior that me and my good friend Brian Baker have witnessed, they seem to be very similar. Now, I've heard you go further down the southeast, like into Florida, it seems like what's reported there is more ape-like. But I haven't been down there either. I have investigated extensively in Oklahoma and a little bit into western Arkansas, but mostly all Oklahoma. But I think they're very, very similar from what I've read.
Oh, hold on. I haven't heard of Bob Wills, but we got a question
Yeah,
here.
Bob Wills was a very famous old school country musician. He would have been the grandfather of country music for sure. Well respected in that. Matter of fact, one of the ladies that comes in my store, if she hasn't passed away, was actually a background singer in Bob Wills' band. So anyway, dangerous or can we go out and sing Kumbaya with them? Anything of that size and that amount of stealth could potentially be dangerous. Have I experienced anything that would lead me to believe they're dangerous? No, because I solo camp a lot down there. I've seen one once. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I have not felt physically threatened. The closest thing to a threat like that is back in 2003. Me and my friend Brian Baker were down there investigating a sighting by a man on a horseback that had walked out in the road in front of him and then ran away. But it had thrown a rock against a tree just outside of our camp after midnight, and this rock weighed about 30 pounds. So not something a person could have thrown, but it bounced off a tree right outside of camp. Now, had it meant harm, it could have just as easily threw that rock at us instead of a tree. My impression of it was that it was letting us know it was there, and perhaps it would rather us not be. But Cornell, did you feel physically threatened?
Well, when I woke up at 3:30 in the morning, yes, I did. But that was just like a reaction to the unknown. So, well, it was just walking about the campsite. So I'm just going through preconceived notions of something unknown outside my campsite. So that's my first experience. So I was very unnerved, yeah. But that's not because of any experience I've had. I've just find it very alarming and unexpected.
Well, it's alarming, unexpected, and definitely intimidating. Anything being able to that stealthily come up and approach your camp. My impression is just very curious about us, because it could have just as easily grabbed up that tent like a sack lunch with Cornell in it and hauled him off to have an Irish dinner.
Yeah, corned beef and cabbage.
But I'm not going to say they're not dangerous, but I've experienced nothing myself with over 20 years of going out in the woods investigating these. I've never felt threatened. Matter of fact, people say, well, you carry a sidearm. I don't carry a sidearm into the woods because I'm afraid of Sasquatch. I think if one of those things wanted us, it could have us before we even knew it was there. I carry a sidearm in case I run into a criminal element out in the woods, which people disappear, sometimes in the woods, and those that have been solved is found that they've ran afoul of a drug deal or something. And I want to be prepared for anything like that. But I don't hunt. I'm not against hunting. I like fishing. That's my thing. So I don't shoot anything that's I just don't shoot things. So I carry a sidearm for self-protection, but I'm not worried too much about the Bigfoot.
I'm going to have another pee, and you can answer this right now because this is your encounter. I think this is your first encounter with visual encounter. So I'm going to let you start on that.
I'll wait to get back. Okay, well, he took off again. Okay. Will you share your visual encounter, David? Hey, that's Zach Squatch right there. How you doing, Zach? That happened last summer, and I had gone down to southeast Oklahoma to one area, and I had just got there, hadn't been there for very long at all, and across the creek from me it was starting to get dark, but there was still just a little bit of sunlight coming through the trees, and I was getting my stuff out of my pickup, And I glanced across the creek, just looking by, and I caught something just out of the corner of my eye first. And the first thing that registered, it was like a burnt tree stump or something in the woods. But it got my attention that I looked back at it, and it was best I can explain. It was a small Sasquatch. It was standing in the trees there, and you could see it, a little bit of sunlight coming through from above, illuminating it. And it was it was covered in a grayish black hair, and it was only, to the best of my estimate, 4, maybe 5 feet tall at the tallest. And I couldn't make out facial features, but I could tell that the face was black. And as soon as I focused in on it, it just turned, and it just disappeared back into the woods, just almost just silently. But after it had gone into the woods, just a little bit later, I started hearing these kind of chattering, real guttural, low chattering vocalizations coming from 2 different areas on each side of where it had disappeared. I've said that maybe it was its parents. If it was a juvenile, which it was small, maybe it was its parents griping at it for getting careless and being seen. But anyway, that's the only visual sighting I've had one, and it was probably no more than 20 yards away from me. It wasn't far, because I was close to the creek on the one side, and it wasn't far up the bank into the trees on the other side. But how silently it moved through the woods, and there's a lot of rocks and leaves and stuff in the woods. I don't know how it moved so silently. It just was gone. So that was that. It actually took it just a little bit to soak in. You look and you look, and then you see something like that. It just it sticks in your head.
Any other questions there? I'm just monitoring the chat. Yeah, that's Zach Squatch. Yep, Zach Squatch is going to be starting his own channel soon, hopefully. And
yeah, that's cool, man. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah. Anybody don't know Zach? He contributes to, and I know Cornell's as well, both of our YouTube channels a lot in the comments and stuff. So I really appreciate that. Who all is there that we interact with a lot, Cornell?
Well, we got Sharon Guy, we got Papa Craig, Ruger Ridge, Ramona Nelson, Max Powers, Nana Anna.
Ramona said, do you think the ones that are completely white or gray are the old ones? I don't know. I've investigated 3 sightings of a gray or a white, described as a gray or a white Bigfoot. One was pretty close proximity. The latest video I put out where I'm, hiking through those mosquito swamps. Some kids, well, they were later teenagers, which I knew them, had been riding 4-wheelers, probably not more than 5 miles from where I was hiking in that back in the late 90s, and claimed to have seen a gray or white Bigfoot standing in some cedar trees watching them. And then down around Tishomingo, which is south and west of me, about 50 miles, on a game preserve down there in the 80s, I got a report of some people seeing a white Sasquatch down there. As well as one from the Commissions of a deer hunter that was on his 4-wheeler seeing one he said was gray or white. So I don't know if it has anything to do with age or not, but maybe. People do report them.
We got a ton of questions coming all at once, so I'm going to do Kathy Dunaway first. She's the one I interviewed that she got chased out of the woods in Tennessee on they were in a Jeep, and this thing ran after the Jeep and almost got them.
Oh, it ran after the Jeep?
Yeah, that was the one I did, and I interviewed her about the Tennessee. I can't remember what the name of it was. Chased in Tennessee by Bigfoot. Yeah, she was a teenager, and they were all out hanging out in the Jeep, and this thing came out of the woods and ran after their Jeep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think they are nocturnal? What's the best time of day to look for them? I think they're like us. I mean, sometimes we're out at night, sometimes not. I've investigated a lot of sightings that happen in, broad daylight. So, I mean, they're not simply nocturnal or simply the other. I mean, in the under cover of darkness would be the best time to stealthily move around. But no, I've investigated a lot of sightings that were in the daytime. So I guess the best time to look for them is just find a place where they frequent and just go there when you can would be the best. I mean, that's what I do. But I like to go. If I can at all, I like to go to an area and stay a couple of days and a couple of nights, so you kind of get now when me and Cornell and Elijah was down there, everything was happening after dark. So
right
at that time it was, Have you heard of any sightings on the North Canadian River? Absolutely. I live not where I live. I'm about 10 miles south of the I'm sorry, North Canadian River. Yeah, matter of fact, the casino footage up there, where that was, is not far from the North Canadian River, up in that part of the state. So yeah, but I live 10 miles south of the South Canadian River, and there have been several sightings along that. What did you think the yell was we heard on our trip to? Oh, that's John. Hey, John. What do you think the yell was that we heard on our trip to Little River before the coyotes howled? Now that's a good question, but it didn't sound like the other coyotes, did it, John? It very curious. Now where me and John, John's another fella that I've met through the YouTube platform. Met Cornell and then met John. We got to talking, and I went camping with John last month to a place on the Little River where him and his wife had some curious encounter down there. So there's a lot of sightings over the years that come from that Little River area. So we heard John. We actually recorded a little bit of something bipedal walking across the river from us, and then before we had this weird yell go out, and as soon as it went off, coyotes started going nuts. So yeah, whatever that yell was, John, I don't know. What do you think?
Did you guys get that on audio, or was it after the fact?
No, the only thing we got on audio was the footsteps. We had just sat down around the campfire and we're talking. We didn't have anything on at that point when that yell came out. Now, John, unless John recorded, I'm not. I don't think he did, but I know he recorded some coyotes when they were going. But that yell he's talking about, I don't think we got that, or I didn't on any of my equipment. But it was strange, siren like yell,
Yeah, I remember the video. I can't remember if you actually caught the yell, but I remember you after the fact saying that you'd heard it. But for me, it's unnerving out there, and you hear these sounds. I listen to TAPS, TAAPS. It's a Texas Bigfoot channel, and they do a lot in the Sam Houston National Forest, and they get some vocalizations down there, and I'd be like, I don't think I'd be able to stay there if I heard those kind of vocals, because they get some really creepy. Yeah, you can hear you can hear the coyotes and stuff, but in the middle of the coyotes, you can hear these like Ohio howls way in the distance, and it's like it doesn't sound like the coyotes. And I'd be like, how do you like camp out there? And he's like, you get used to it. I guess if they're not coming and attacking you, you can observe from a distance. But that,
you know, John, he camps all the time, him and his wife down there. And I go, you know, down southeast Oklahoma a lot. I camp around here quite a bit. When you're, yeah, you do get used to it. And I've never had, like I said, I've never had anything resembling an act of aggression toward me. So I'm quite comfortable. And my sense of curiosity generally outweighs my sense of caution. Who is a good vocals person to ask about a call I just got? Well, if you've recorded it, I mean, I'd be glad to listen to it if you want to email it to me. And that's up to you. But past that, I mean, I may be able to offer some opinions on it if it's anything like what I've heard. But if anybody has, if anybody has some vocalizations or something they would like me to listen to, if you have a report you would like to send to me and whatever, just email it to Bigfoot and More at yahoo.com. And I keep all of this stuff confidential unless you ask me to share it with somebody. So, you know, some people send me reports and they want me to share them on my channel, and I generally will if they want me to. And if you don't want me to, I don't. But if you'd like me to listen to that vocalization you've got, I'd be very happy to listen to it and give you my opinion on it.
Yeah, there's other sites you can send it to, and they can analyze it and stuff. I think Sawdust Beast is one, or Saw Beast is one of them. He's on Bigfoot Odyssey a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned Carrie down there, Carrie Arnold. He's probably got some folks like Cornell was saying that he could send it to as well. I'd be glad to give you my opinion on it though, if you want to send it to me.
Now, Dave, would you think of going on the next Kerry expedition, which is in October in Florida? Would you consider that? We got some folks going there.
Yeah, I just really, with my job and stuff, I can't get away for that extended period of time.
True.
So I tend to do all of my stuff here within driving distance here in Oklahoma, you know, which there's plenty to keep me busy here. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, you know, take part in one of Carrie's expeditions, but I just don't see me having the time to be able to go down to Florida and do that justice.
Yeah, so Max is like he's not saying it's Bigfoot, he doesn't know what it is. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
All I can tell you, Max, is I can and what I do a lot of when I hear vocalization in the woods that I don't know what it is, I'll go through database, and you can get this all over the internet. You can pull up all the animals in your area and their calls. Now, one of the animals that I've heard mistaken for Sasquatch a lot of times, and even one guy's got a YouTube channel where he's riding a bicycle through Georgia and he stops in a Sasquatch museum, and you can push a button and it plays supposedly a Sasquatch vocalization. And I heard that and I'm like, that's a red fox. And if you ever hear a red fox, they sound like a person screaming. I mean, literally. So what I do is if I hear something I can't identify at that time, I'll go through those databases and see if I can line it up with something that's more mundane. Sometimes I can't, like some of the stuff that me and Cornell heard and stuff that he recorded, we couldn't. So,
well, you know, it was funny, Dave. I was playing the Bigfoot video game earlier, and I actually posted it, And there are all, it's not just Bigfoot. You're in a forest and you have all these different animals. You've got to watch out for bears and wolves, but there's also raccoons, and they make exactly the same sound as we heard. That
that one at the time, when we were hearing it there in person, it was distant enough. It was kind of hard to tell. But then when you had it and you were able to bring it up in the studio, it brought those out. And I left my cat's food out on the porch the other night, and two raccoons came up and they were fighting over that. And I'm like, yeah,
that's what it sounded like, right? So that's what we do. When Dave and I go into the Kamichi Mountains, we don't make any claims. We are just asking questions. And we're not taking photographs and saying, oh my God, that's a Bigfoot off in the distance. It's like a dark shape and a tree. We don't do that. We go in there and camp. And if we come across anything, we'll document it and we'll say, what do you think this is? But I'm not going to ever do that thing where I take a photograph and post it on my website and say, that dark blurry thing in the distance, that's a Sasquatch watching me. I'm not going to do that because I know how this community is. I'll get ripped to pieces. But the audio that I found, that whoop, still to this day, and we were sitting there and we didn't hear it, which is the craziest thing. Yeah, that whoop was the craziest thing I ever heard.
One of the things that was very strange, other than that, were the knocks.
Yeah, the knocks, yeah.
And we had knocks coming from three different sides of us. We had them coming from up the ridge. We had it from down further from us. And then what was that clacking the rocks together down in the creek?
Yeah.
That was something. So
that was way down towards the bottoms, right? In our second campsite.
Right. It was on the creek further down from us. I mean, it was so distinct. I thought it was like a gunshot at first, and then it, repeated itself several times. But yeah, that coming from those three different areas simultaneous, they were, I guess, signaling to each other.
And the wood knocks were like one wood knock. It wasn't like a couple. It was just one wood knock. And a couple of them sounded pretty hollow. Like Chris Noel had said, it sounded like an acorn landed on the audio recorder, but then you heard them off in the distance and it was like a thump. It was like it had depth to it. That's how, I'd sent him the audio on the iPhone, so he was listening to it in the iPhone. But when I brought it up on the computer and saw the spikes in Audacity, you could totally, and the spikes were almost the same size. You could really, I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy,
So what did Chris think of your audio?
Well, he loved it. Yeah, after I gave him the actual final result, he was very interested.
Yeah, he's the fellow. Isn't he in Vermont?
He's up in Vermont. Yeah, he's done a lot of investigations, and he's pretty legit.
Yeah, I don't know him personally. I've seen the interview on your when you had him on your show, and then I visited his YouTube channel and listened to some of his stuff he's got. Interesting channel.
Very interesting. Yeah, if you don't know if the channel, go to Impossible Visits by Christopher Noel, and he spent like a year investigating the Sasquatch in a micro forest close to his house, and he has some amazing vocalizations and tree knocks, and even a couple of possible, sightings. And he does a lot of interviews. He changes it up. He was the one that got that famous footage of the thermal where the Bigfoot is looking down between the logs and it reaches its hand up behind the tree or something. Yeah. Do you ever see that one? Yeah,
I did.
That was him.
Yeah, that's interesting. So is old Mark, is he on here from Livewire? Is he dropped by?
He was earlier. Are you still there, Mark? There's a delay in YouTube, so from when he hears this and when he types it, there's always a delay. I think he's gone.
Yeah. Oh, I'll if John Hodges is still on here, talking about the stuff that our camp trip. John's got a channel that I think he recorded an odd vocalization, and he's got a channel called John Hodges Anything Outdoors. And it's not a Bigfoot channel per se. It's a lot of his, outdoor like fishing and stuff, but he's got some videos pertaining to Bigfoot on that. And he's got what he recorded of our camping trip on there as well. So I'll check that out.
You guys were down by the Little River, was it?
Oh, we were right on the Little River.
And that's
yeah. Everybody hears of Honabi because they have the big Bigfoot festival thing there every. It's not Hanobia, it's Honabi. It's not pronounced how it's spelled. But anyway, Little River runs through that and down, straight down to, well, it goes into the mountain fork eventually. But we were on that river. We were south of where Honabi is, right there. Hey, you had a guy on here. I guess your last guest knows me.
Oh yes, Gary Spikes.
Gary Spikes. Yeah, I figured him out. I kept watching that interview and I'm like, oh man, he's mentioning my name a lot. Do I know him? And yeah, I watched the rest of it. I sold him his first guitar and he used to take guitar lessons there at the store. I didn't know he was into Bigfoot.
Yeah, I guess you got him into it.
I had no idea. Yeah.
There you go.
So I said, but I was watching your interview and I'm thinking that guy looks very familiar. I just couldn't place him at the time. So,
yeah. And Steve taught him guitar and stuff. And he said that, I think he said that you got him into this whole thing and now his whole family's into it and they go out on expeditions as a family, which is the best, it's amazing. Your whole family's into it.
Yeah, I noticed from the interview he has a lot of the same views on this subject that I share.
Right.
So that was I wish I'd have been able to catch the live one so I could have popped in on it, but I was literally rounding up cattle that had got out of our fence and into some neighbors' woods out there till about 9 o'clock at night. So I would a lot rather been watching y'all's interview. So
yeah, it was fun. He's a very knowledgeable guy. He's a veteran as well. He's been, I don't know where he was deployed. He didn't tell me, but he does a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's a tracker too. So we got to meet up with him when we get down there sometime.
Yeah.
And his father is also into it. It's Gary Spikes Jr. and Gary Spikes Sr. So his father popped in and said hello. So it's really interesting.
Hey, is my daughter on here anywhere? Summer.
Did I see Summer? Is her last name the same as yours?
Yeah. I don't know if she's watching or not. I told her or Elijah, either one. I texted them and let them know that we were going to be live tonight.
No, Elijah's not here. I can't see them unless they actually comment for some reason. Gary was telling me last week how you can see them, but I think you got to pay for it to be able to see who all's in the list. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think Elijah's out camping down by Tishomingo with his girlfriend, actually. So, or fiance, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I can't see them anywhere. I don't know how to.
Are there any other questions on there?
Anybody got any more questions before I wrap it up? We got 30 people here.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
For me, yes. That's I'm a superstar if I get 30 people. I've made like $1 like 90 in the last week. since I got monetized. Some videos they won't monetize. If I do conspiracy theory videos, they won't monetize them.
Yeah.
Nope. All right. Well, guys, thanks for popping in and being part of the stream. It was great. When are we going to go out in New England?
Do what?
Max is asking, when are we going to go out in New England? Where are you from, Max? I thought, Strangeland is from Newfoundland. Where are you from again, Max? I'm sorry, I forget. Yeah, I'd love to go out in New England. Yeah, send me a message on the comment section, and we'll take it from there. Okay, Dave. Well, thank you very much for joining, and it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to our next trip, man.
Oh man, I can't wait. And I will speak to you soon. Thanks everybody for joining. Good night.